Now that we have discussed about different components of the LoadRunner, let's see how these components will interact with each other. Well, this is the architecture of the LoadRunner, and you have all the components that we have discussed so far. We have the analyzer or analysis, the controller, VUGen, and this is what LGs are. You can also call it as agent machine, or we can call it as LGs. In this picture I have 5 LGs, and this is my application under test. We can take the same application, which is amazon.in, that I have been discussing so far, and let's say that is my application under test. As you can see here, the VUGen is the one wherein you will create the scripts. Once you create the scripts in the VUGen, then all the scripts goes into the controller. And in the controller, we have to have these LGs which needs to be configured in the controller. Once you click on the run button in the controller, those scripts will be downloaded onto these LGs depending upon your configuration. Let's say the script 1 is assigned to LG1, script 2 is LG2, and script 3 is LG3, and so on. Let's assume that's what you have configured. So each of those scripts will be downloaded onto these LGs, and LGs are the ones which will create those virtual users, and using these virtual users, the script will be executed. While the script is being executed by these LGs, you are actually applying the load on your application under test, which means that the request will be continuously sent to this application under test, and the application under test, using the web server, app server, and the database server, they will send the response back for each of those requests. Once we get the response back, the LG will calculate the response time for that particular transaction. And once the test is done, whether you're doing a load test or a stress test or a soak test, whatever it is, once the test is done, once the test scenario is completed, then the results will go back to the controller, from which as a performance tester you will download to the tool called analysis to exactly figure out the bottleneck. This is what an architecture of LoadRunner looks like, guys. Well, in the real-time setup, you get into the project. In the real-time setup, you have the VUGen installed on the performance tester's desktop itself. You have the analysis installed on the performance tester desktop itself. So on your desktop as a performance tester, you have these two components installed on your machine. One is VUGen, virtual user generator, and one is the analysis. The controller part, it will be installed elsewhere, and you will be doing a remote desktop. Not necessarily, but this is how most of the people do it, because the controller and LGs needs to be shared between multiple performance testers. So it is better you install on a particular Windows machine, and a performance tester, when he has to execute a particular test, he can access that machine, upload the scripts onto those machine, and configure the controller and LGs and run it. The LGs can be the same controller machine, or it could be different. It totally depends upon how many LGs you have and how many LGs you need and what is your setup. LGs can be the same controller machine, it could be a different machine altogether, and you can have multiple LGs as well. So this is how a real setup looks like. But for you, when you download and install on your machine, every single component is installed on your desktop machine itself. The VUGen, the controller, the LGs, and analysis, everything is installed on your machine itself. Now, let's see what is that when you have to download and install this LoadRunner, what is the system configuration that you have to have. This is for LoadRunner version 12.5. Based on version to version, this requirement might change, but we are talking about the version 12.5. Well, the processor speed has to be minimum. It should be dual core with 2.2 gigahertz or even faster. Faster is always better. Next, the operating system. You can use any of those operating systems. Whether you have a Windows 7 or Windows 8, now it is supporting even Windows 10, the latest version. or you have the servers, Windows Server 2008 or Windows Server 2002, you have any of those machines, you can download and peacefully install the LoadRunner on those machines. But remember, on these machines the processor speed has to be 2.2 gigahertz or faster, and the RAM on it should be at least 8 GB. 4 GB also works, but it works slow. Ideally you should have 8 GB. And screen resolution, it's okay, 1366 by 768, but it is okay. The browser, you have to use IE latest 9, 10 or 11, okay. And finally the hard disk should be minimum 50 GB. If your machine is having all of those, then you can download and install this LoadRunner onto your desktop or laptops. Well, how to download it? You can go to that URL and then click on that URL, and you will have two options, whether you want to buy it or you want a free version. There is a free version available for you to practice, guys. That's the good news. So you can download this free version and you can have it for the lifetime. There is no expiry on that, but this free version comes with only 50 virtual users. So you want to execute a test with more than 50 virtual users, then you have to go ahead and buy it. But for practicing, that 50 virtual users is more than enough. So obviously you'll select this free version, click on download now, then it will ask you to register. Go ahead and register that, and finally the download starts. It's a big file, it is close to 2 GB file, so it will take some time to download, 1 hour or 2 hours. Once you have downloaded, it's a zipped version. Once you unzip it, this is what a folder which will be unzipped, and that's what you will use to install on your desktop or a laptop. Once you open that, go to this folder called DVD. You will see a setup file. Double click on this file, and now the installation starts. It will take some time to install. There are multiple next that you have to do. Finally, you get to the final installation. In the middle of it, if it is asking for the latest Java version, go ahead and upgrade it, guys. It will automatically upgrade it for you. You just follow the instructions. And finally, once the installation is done, you have all the components installed on your machine. Once you download this LoadRunner and install it, you have all the 4 components, which is Vusion, the controller, analysis, and the load generator or LGs will be installed on your laptop or desktop that you have chosen. If you need more guidance of it, in the download folder, in the DVD folder, you will see this HP LoadRunner installation guide. You can go through the instructions which are there in the guide, but trust me, you never have to. It is just very, very easy. So once you have downloaded it, look at the process as to like how the LoadRunner works. You can create the virtual users scripts using the Vusion component, and you can create the test scenarios and execute those test scenarios using the controller. And then finally, you can analyze the results using the component called analyzer. And if you have any issues, then the developer will tune the issues or take away the bottlenecks. And once that is done, then again you have to create the scenario, execute the scenario, and analyze the scenario. This loops and continues until the bottlenecks are being taken away. Once the bottleneck is taken away and during the analysis phase you are happy with the result, you are exiting.